Thank you, Vice President Vance. I want to thank the President as well. They showed strong leadership today. They invited the 4 leaders over here because the President is operating in good faith, and he demonstrated that very well. The problem is that Chuck Schumer and Leader Jeffries refuse to acknowledge the simple facts. Let's review what the simple facts are. As the Vice President was saying, this is the common sense thing to do. This is the right thing to do. This is the simple thing to do. By way of review, the House is getting back to the way the regular appropriations process is supposed to work. 12 separate appropriations bills passed through the House Appropriations Committee, 3 off the floor. The Senate doing their work as well. All this in bipartisan fashion, by the way. They passed 3 bills in the Senate. Those bills don't match up exactly. So for the first time in years, since 2019, you have a conference committee that is being constituted between the House and the Senate. This is the way a bill becomes a law. They work out the differences. All this is happening in bipartisan fashion. The problem is we run out of clock. September 30th is the end of the fiscal year, so we need a little more time. So what we did in the Republican majority is the right, responsible, simple thing. A clean, continuing resolution, a short-term, nonpartisan continuing resolution. It's only 24 pages in length. Leader Thune has a copy if you want to see the exhibit. There's nothing partisan in here. No policy riders, none of our big party preferences, because we want to do the right thing by the American people and allow more time for negotiation. Now, there's a reason that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries have come out here to stomp the feet saying that they can't go along with this. They're trying to bring in extraneous issues. They issued a counter proposal. You should go take a look at what they requested. $1.5 trillion in new spending that is unrelated to the ongoing appropriations process. They wanted to, as you said, restore taxpayer-funded benefits, okay? Hardworking taxpayers in America. They want to take your funds and give that for benefits to illegal aliens. They want to restore that because we got rid of it. They want to prop up left-leaning media outlets. $500 million they threw in on top of that. $1.5 trillion on a 7-week stopgap funding measure. We're not going to do that. They know we can't do that. And we never have in the past. During the Biden administration, there were 13 threatened shutdowns. The Republicans in the minority did the right thing. We kept the government open. We're simply asking for the Democrats to do the same. Again, I want to thank President Trump for the strong, solid leadership. He listened to the arguments, and they just wouldn't acknowledge the simple facts. I want to thank Vice President here for showing his leadership as well. If the Democrats make the decision to shut the government down, the consequences are on them, and I think it's absolutely tragic. We've never said that was a good idea. We never believed it is. And I want you to remember, when we voted in the House, we passed it out of the House. The House has done its job. We did that almost 2 weeks ago. Every Democrat in the House except one voted to shut the government down. That is the record.
Speaker Johnson just dropped a bombshell that has Democrats in absolute panic mode, and you won't believe what he exposed. The shutdown strategy they thought would destroy Trump, it backfired so spectacularly that Chuck Schumer is now fighting for his political life. Before we get into this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you don't want to miss what's coming next. I'm breaking down Mike Johnson's devastating statement that completely dismantled the Democrats' entire game plan. We're talking about exposed lies, failed political tactics, and a $1.5 trillion scandal that they tried to hide from the American people. The Democrats thought they had Trump cornered, but what happened next left them scrambling for damage control. The backfire, how Democrats' shutdown strategy collapsed. The Democrats walked straight into a trap they set for themselves, and the numbers tell a story they desperately want to hide. When Republicans passed their clean continuing resolution through the House, 206 Democrats voted against it. Only one Democrat, Jared Golden from Maine, had the courage to vote yes. That means 99.5% of House Democrats officially voted to shut down the government while Republicans were trying to keep it open. This isn't spin or political theater. This is documented congressional record that completely destroys their narrative about Trump causing the shutdown. The media spent weeks building up this story about how Trump would own the shutdown, just like 2018. They had their talking points ready, their graphics prepared, their expert panels lined up to blame everything on the Republican Party. But Mike Johnson did something brilliant. He released the actual text of both proposals side by side. The Republican bill, 24 pages of straightforward government funding with zero partisan additions. Here's what makes this backfire even more devastating for Democrats. Internal polling from their own party shows that 68% of independent voters now blame Democrats for government dysfunction, up from 34% just 2 months ago.
We're not doing that. We got rid of that in our One Big Beautiful Bill. We're not going back to that policy. This was a big issue in the election last fall. American taxpayers are not supposed to fund people who break the law coming into the country illegally. They're demanding that as a condition of their votes. They also want to gut the $50 billion that we included in our legislation, have already passed, signed into law, to protect rural hospitals. They want to claw that money back, inexplicably. They want to give the Corporation for Public Broadcasting $500 million, $500 million, to prop up these left-leaning media organizations that we defunded. I don't think, and the American people don't think, that taxpayers should be funding that in the age of, ubiquitous media coverage and so many options. So all these things that they're trying to cram into a very simple, remember the terms of this, 7 weeks. We're only buying until November 21st, again, to allow the appropriations process to continue. And I think this is very important. We've talked about this on the program before. I've been trying very hard since I became Speaker 2 years ago to force the Congress back into the regular appropriations process. And why is that so important? Because that's how you act as a good steward of the precious resources of American taxpayers. And we've done it. I mean, this is a great report, right? The House Appropriations Committee, in a bipartisan fashion, worked and passed 12 separate appropriations bills through committee, 3 off the House floor. The Senate passed 3 bills off the floor there. They don't match up exactly. And so remember the Saturday morning cartoon, I'm just a bill on Capitol Hill? You know how it's supposed to work? Now, when the 2 chambers measures don't agree, they get together, they work it out. All that is in process, but we run out of clock.
That's a 34-point swing in the wrong direction for them. Chuck Schumer knows these numbers. Hakeem Jeffries knows these numbers. That's why behind closed doors, Democrat leadership is reportedly furious with their progressive wing for pushing them into this corner. Even CNN's own polling showed similar results, though they buried it in their weekend coverage when viewership is lowest. The $1.5 trillion scandal exposed. The Democrat counterproposal wasn't just bad policy. It was political suicide wrapped in fiscal irresponsibility, and the specific numbers are absolutely staggering. They demanded $1.5 trillion in new spending for a bill that was supposed to last exactly 7 weeks. Let me put that in perspective for you. That works out to roughly $214 billion per week, or $30.6 billion every single day. For comparison, the entire annual budget for the Department of Education is $238 billion. Democrats wanted to spend more than 6 times that amount in less than 2 months. The breakdown gets even more absurd when you look at the details. They wanted $680 billion restored for programs that Republicans had just cut in the reconciliation bill. Another $520 billion was earmarked for what they called emergency climate initiatives that weren't emergencies at all. Mike Johnson brought printed copies of their proposal to the Oval Office meeting, and according to sources who were in the room, he went line by line through their demands. The silence from Schumer and Jeffries was reportedly deafening. They couldn't defend it because it was indefensible. But the real scandal isn't just the total amount. It's where that money was specifically designed to go, and this connects directly to why they're so desperate. Follow the money trail, and you'll find that approximately $180 billion of their proposal was allocated to organizations that donated heavily to Democratic campaigns in 2024. The illegal alien benefits bombshell. Johnson pulled out a specific section of the Democrat proposal that they clearly hoped would stay buried in the fine print, and the details are genuinely shocking. Page 847 of their counter-proposal contained a provision to restore full taxpayer-funded healthcare benefits to illegal aliens, estimated to cost $89 billion annually. But it wasn't just healthcare. The provision included housing assistance, educational benefits, and even retirement planning services for people who entered the country illegally. Republicans had eliminated these benefits in their reconciliation bill just weeks earlier, and Democrats were trying to sneak them back in through a temporary spending measure. The political calculation was obvious. They thought Republicans wouldn't read a massive bill under deadline pressure and would just vote it through to avoid a shutdown. Johnson didn't just read it. He highlighted it, copied it, and distributed it to every single Republican member before the vote. Then he did something even more effective. He sent it to Republican governors in swing states, who immediately started running ads showing exactly what Democrats were trying to fund with taxpayer money. Within 48 hours, polls in Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and Pennsylvania showed massive opposition to the Democrat proposal.
Mr. Speaker, at that meeting yesterday, did they present, and I don't know how much you can talk about what went on, but did they give the Democrats an entire wish list of things? Did they say they want health care for illegal immigrants and I don't know, funding, some TVs? They said we want all these things.
Yes, and they put it in writing because remember, they filed a counter proposal continuing resolution. We filed a 24-page clean CR. They filed a dirty CR as a counter proposal, included in it, and they brought this up at the meeting yesterday. They want to restore taxpayer-funded benefits, American taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens, okay?
In Arizona specifically, 71% of voters said they opposed using tax dollars for illegal alien benefits, including 54% of registered Democrats. That's a majority of their own party voters disagreeing with their leadership's position. Schumer saw these numbers and reportedly called an emergency meeting with his caucus, but the damage was already done. The media tried to spin this as Republicans being heartless, but voters weren't buying it. The backlash has been so severe that at least 7 Democrat House members have privately told Republican colleagues they regret their vote against the clean continuing resolution. The public broadcasting scandal. Hidden on page 1243 of the Democrat proposal was a line item that perfectly symbolizes everything wrong with their spending priorities. And when this got out, even some Democrats couldn't defend it. They allocated $500 million to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the same organization Republicans had just defunded, because taxpayers shouldn't subsidize media in the streaming age. But the story gets worse when you examine why Democrats were so desperate to restore this funding. CPB doesn't just fund PBS and NPR. It funds 1,500 local stations across the country, and financial disclosures show these stations donated $47 million to Democratic campaigns and PACs between 2020 and 2024. That's a 340% increase from the previous 4-year period. Johnson called this out specifically during his press conference, and the media coverage was notably sparse. Only 3 major outlets even mentioned this provision, and none of them covered the donation angle. But independent journalists and conservative media platforms ran with it hard, and the story exploded on social media. Within 24 hours, the hashtag exposing this had over 89 million impressions on various platforms. Americans were furious that during an economic crisis, Democrats wanted $500 million for media organizations that clearly favor one political party. Even worse for Democrats, several of their own senators from red and purple states started distancing themselves from the proposal. Joe Manchin publicly stated he couldn't support it. John Tester in Montana called it fiscally reckless. Sherrod Brown in Ohio said it needed serious revision. When your own party members are running away from your proposal, you've lost the political battle. The rural hospital betrayal. This might be the most politically damaging revelation of all, and it perfectly demonstrates how disconnected Democrat leadership is from working-class America. The reconciliation bill that Republicans passed included $50 billion specifically allocated to struggling rural hospitals in underserved communities. These are hospitals that serve small towns, farming communities, and economically depressed areas where healthcare access is already limited. Many of these facilities were on the verge of closing before this funding was approved. The Democrat counter-proposal contained a provision to claw back $31 billion of that funding and redirect it to urban hospital systems in blue states. The political calculation was obvious and callous. Democrats represent urban districts, so they wanted to shift money from rural areas that vote Republican to cities that vote Democrat. But they completely misread how this would play politically. Rural voters are already skeptical of Washington, and this confirmed their worst fears about being forgotten and ignored. Republican governors immediately mobilized, holding press conferences at rural hospitals that would lose funding under the Democrat plan. Patients, doctors, and nurses spoke about what this money meant for their communities. Internal Democrat polling showed this issue alone cost them 12 points with rural voters nationwide and 8 points with suburban voters who have family in rural areas. Schumer tried to walk it back, claiming it was a drafting error, but nobody believed him. The provision was too specific, too detailed, too carefully constructed to be a mistake.
All right, we're ready. Joining us now, House Speaker Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Good to have you on this morning.
Always good to be with you. Thanks.
We're feeling pessimistic. I don't know, maybe you can talk us out of it, but does it look like at this point this will not be averted, the shutdown?
You know me, I'm an optimist, but I'm a little skeptical this morning. Whether or not the government shuts down at midnight is entirely up to two people. It's Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, primarily Chuck Schumer. I want to tell you that I spent time with them yesterday. Of course, we were in the Oval Office. They are pursuing a very reckless strategy right now, and for the life of me, I cannot understand what they hope to accomplish other than giving themselves temporary political cover from the far left portion of their base, who are demanding that they fight Trump. There is no basis whatsoever for them to oppose this continuing resolution. And I know that you all have been through this, and already on the program you had Whip Emmer talking about this. But what we put on the floor and what we passed through the House, what is sitting on the desk at the Senate right now for Chuck Schumer to pass, is a clean continuing resolution. There's no partisan riders or policy riders added to it at all. It's 24 pages in length. It is a simple measure to keep the government open so that we can continue the appropriations process.
So, there you have it. Speaker Johnson didn't just expose the Democrats' shutdown strategy, he systematically destroyed it with facts they can't deny and numbers they can't spin. If you found this breakdown valuable, smash that subscribe button right now and hit the notification bell because we're covering every twist and turn of this political battle as it unfolds. Drop a comment below telling me which revelation shocked you the most, the $1.5 trillion spending spree or the rural hospital betrayal. I read every single comment, and I'll see you in the next one.